In this video, we'll try to load a new dataset, which is coming again from the Tidytuesday R repository, which is US polling places, which has a data dictionary. I will leave the link in the description box below. And here we have many columns. So I thought I can use this as a dataset and try to load into Power BI and do some transformations in Power Query and create a couple of pages of reports. And you can just go ahead and pause the video and download the dataset in case if you want to follow along. Let us try to load the dataset into Power BI text CSV. You have the navigator and click on transform data and you are in Power BI. Power BI has already identified and applied certain steps, and let us try to go ahead and insert another step, because in real world the data sets are not clean, so we have to spend a lot of time cleaning the data. So in this case I feel that the election date has some errors, so let us try to do modifications to that code, and let us try to uncheck the unwanted things, because it has identified non-date data types also as date. So let us try to uncheck them. As you can see, real world, like I said, real world data sets has a lot of errors, so we have to clean them up so that it will be useful for us when you change this column into date column, and we should make sure that there are no errors. So now that we have done that, and let us click on OK. Once we do that, we have the column ready, and we can, like I said, we have to change the data type, and now that we have fixed it, the data is loading, and the column is ready for us to use it as a date column. So let us go ahead, and those steps have been applied already. As you can see, we can make sure that we can go back to the column and see that the column has been fixed. So similarly, we can also do that. If you have time, you can just go through the data set and try to kind of clean up the data. So the cleaner the data, the better for us, because when we are trying to create reports, those reports should make sense. So click on any other column. So probably let us try to look at all the columns. We have the name column and the address column. So in the name column also there are certain things there. So like you can see, I thought we will try to use the name column. As you can see, there are a lot of names there: town hall, church, and community center. Let us try to use that column and maybe do the transformations. We can add the column, and we will try to use the split function from in Power Query, and we'll try to look at that. And we have to make sure that those values in that particular column are in lowercase. So we can just go ahead and do it, but it's a good idea to change that into a lower case. So we can say that, hey, if the name column types contains certain word, then make it as a category, whatever we want to. So let us try to make it into a lowercase text. And once we do that, let us go back and add those conditions, right? This is a conditional column, and you can name the column. And in this case, we want to go to the name column. If it contains, say in this case, for example, it's church, then put that the output should be church. So let's go ahead and make sure that whatever buckets we want, we can put them into those things. Like I said, Baptist, Methodist, all those things are into church category. And also let us try to use some of the conditions like school, technical college, and technical. So you can just go ahead and try to clean up, but because we want to save time, I went ahead and added those conditions. And once we do that and click OK, we have a new column, and that new column has, you can just go ahead and name the column as type, and that way we have different types of polling places names. So we want to use this as a slicer in our report page, so that instead of using the name which has all the different columns, we will try to use say 5-6 categories, and rest of them we'll put into another bin which is others category. So once we are happy with this, I think we should do another transformation. Let us go to the election date and try to create a new column, month, and we have a month here. As you can see, there are February, September, and November. So mostly we are interested in the November elections. So USA, every couple of years there are some major elections which happen in November, including presidential elections. So we'll try to use that. Once we close and apply, and the data set is in your Power BI desktop, let us try to make sure the transformations which were made in Power Query are in Power BI desktop. I think those look good. Let us try to change the election date to a short date. so that you have your month, day, and year. And similarly, let us try to look at all the other columns and make sure that those transformations happen. Now, as a first step, let us create a new table. We have done this in one of the previous videos. So let us try to create a calendar table, and we are using calendar function. Min is the polling places selection date, min, and max. So that way we have that range. And also let us go ahead and create another column in this calendar table itself, which is year. And we'll make sure that this is a calendar type is date table. And also the next step is logically we have to go into model view and make the connections to the main table. In our case, it's polling places table. Let us try to drag date onto the election date. We have a one-to-many cardinality. We have that cross-filter direction is single. So now that we have done this, we have a calendar table which has a date and a year column, and we also have our main table polling places. Let us try to create our first page. Go to report view, click on a new page, and let us try to create our first measure. So we want to count the number of polling places, right? So a simple count rows function will give us that value. And let us also try to look at the distinct polling places, because those names could be, there could be duplicates. So because we have different years data set, so the same polling place will have will appear in different years. So let us try to create another measure, which is a distinct number of places. So that way we have. So we'll use the column which we created in Power Query as a slicer. And we have those 6 categories, 5 categories, and others bin also. Let us try to drag the bar chart, and let us try to add data to it. These are all simple things, right? In case you are following along, you can create another visual also. So we just wanted to use this as a bar chart. Let us try to add, for the y-axis, let us try to add state. And also the x-axis, either we can use the number of polling places which have duplicates, or maybe the distinct polling places. Initially, let us try to use the ones which have which are duplicates too. So let us try to make adjustments in the format section. This is all for the look and feel. So it's up to you. You want to use this formatting or not. So I've added the data labels, and also I've added some color, so conditional formatting. So whenever the user makes any selections on those slicers, the selections are made accordingly, the bar chart will change. So nothing fancy about it. This is the standard functionality. So once we have that, let us also make sure that we will look at the names column again. And it's always a good idea for us to go back to all the columns in the table view and look at all the table views. So like I said, for example, we selected Meadow School. You can see 3 values are there. So that means in different years, the same name is appearing. So it's, I think in the bar chart, it makes sense for us to use distinct values. So that way our data set reflects whatever the data we are trying to show on the bar chart. So let us swap it out. Let us try to bring the distinct measures that we have created, and now it looks good. I think this is what we wanted to do, and this is done. And let us try to maybe change the category of the state, because eventually we'll try to use map visual. So let us try to make sure that it is data category, state, or province. Similarly, we'll try to go to county name. Let us use the data category, change it to county. So that way, in case if you're using map visual, we can just use this particular field to those the location fields in those respective map visuals. So we can do all these changes. I'm just trying to make sure that we can use small multiples and as such. So now that I think we are happy with this visual, I think this is good. We have a bar chart. Up top, we have a slicer. So that's the first step. And let us try to create another new page, and let us make this tooltip as a tooltip page. Let us make this page as a tooltip page. All you have to do is go to the canvas and make changes, and let us name it as map tooltip appropriately. So we have a tooltip page, and you can make changes to the format. Let us try to use the filled map. I don't think so. This looks good. Let us try to add the location initially. We can try out with whatever maps we are comfortable with. We have ArcGIS and all the other maps too. Let us try to swap it out to shape map. So that way, when I add the location, we'll add in this case state to the location field. So let us drag that state, and let us try to add, for the color saturation, let us try to add the distinct polling places measure. So now that whenever you're hovering over any kind of state, that particular state has those distinct values, and color saturation is working perfectly. Now that we have a tooltip in place, all we have to do is go back to the bar chart, highlight it, go to the properties in the format section. Let us try to click on tooltips. Instead of the auto page, let us try to direct it to the map tooltip page, so that whenever the user is hovering over any of those bars, that particular state will be highlighted in the map tooltip. So I think this looks good. Let us create another visual in the report page itself. Let us try to use not multi-row, but let us try to use the table visual, and let us start adding the values to this table visual. Let us try to use the state, and also maybe the election date, so that we have the election date also in the table. And let us try to use the distinct places measure. So we have two visuals. On the left you have your bar chart, and on the right you have a table visual. And I feel that I think we can also add a tooltip page to this particular table visual. Let us go ahead and let us create another page, and please follow the same kind of instructions, and just go select the page and name that page as by type tooltip page, and make it as a tooltip page in the page type. And here let us try to drag the bar chart, and to the y-axis let us try to add maybe type. Yep, type should be good. And also to the x-axis let us try to add the number of distinct polling places. So we have a bar chart, so that whenever user hovers over the table, any kind of value on the table, this particular tooltip page will appear. So let us make sure that we add some color. So let us go to the conditional formatting, let us use gradient, let us use count of type, and do it. You can always define another measure, but to save time I'm just trying to use the count of shape measure as a conditional formatting, so that the visual looks good, it is colorful. And let us try to uncheck the legend here. So we have a tooltip page by type tooltip, and let us try to go back to our main visual page, which is the first page, number of distinct polling places by state. And now in this case let us try to select the table, and we have the table selected, and we'll follow the same procedure. We'll try to go back to the format section, properties, and we'll try to add this by tooltip page as the page. So like I said, whenever you're hovering over, you have those values, so it looks good. We have visually appealing report page, and with a slicer, and this is good. And when you see go back to the table view and look at the data set, we have different years, right, from 2012 to 2020. And let us try to start creating more measures. Maybe in all we'll try to create 5 or 6 measures. So we'll create about 5-6 pages, and let us try to create a page, new page, and in this page we'll try to create a new measure. So we want to see the one of the research question is, we want to see how the polling places varied, what is the change from when compared to 2012 to 2020. So we can use the var keyword, and let us try to create a couple of variables, and let us try to grab the first date, which is min of the polling election date, and the last date is obviously max of the polling date. Very simple measure. It's maybe a couple of lines more, but it looks complicated, but it's pretty simple. And the next is we want to grab the values, right? So what are the values in this particular filter condition? So let us try to use the calculate function. We want to count the number of distinct polling places, and the filter in this case would be, so let's try to use the election date column from the polling places. If it is equal to the first date, if this condition is met, then we are getting the values in that particular filter condition. Let us try to copy this this measure, this variable value, and copy it and create another variable. Now that we have done for the first value, all we have to do is to calculate the last value. Now that we know the drill, let us swap out the first date with last date. So that way we have 2 dates variables and 2 values variables, first value and last value. And the return statement, we can easily calculate the change as a percentage. All we have to do is use the divide function. The numerator would be the last value minus the first value. So this is the numerator. The denominator would be the first value. That way we have divide, and as always we can go and format it and make sure it is percentage. So we have the percentage up top. So this is great, right? This way what happens is we will, anytime user wants to see what is the change, right, by state wise, if he hovers over any state, they can always look at the change when compared with 2012, because this data is from 2012 to 2020. So let us try to create add a slicer. We use the type slicer up top, and these are all the standard things. You can use any kind of visual. In this case we are using this visual, and let us try to make some changes. I've already, to save time, I've made all the changes, and I've added several visuals too. So let us try to hover over the first one. You can see those are the fields which I've added, and I've used all the formatting, the grid and all those things. Like I said, you can always do based on your needs, but I think this way we have a slicer up top, and also we can select any state. And let us try to look at the new, we have used a new card visual, and we have used the small multiples too. I thought let me use the jurisdiction type. So we have the type also up there, and we have 4 cards there, and you can scroll down and see by whatever jurisdiction type, you can see them. And also I've added another card visual too. I've added 3 data, so you can just pause the video, and once you have downloaded the data, follow along. And also on the bottom I've added a map visual, so that way we have 3 things going on. I think we want to give a maximum kind of report page should show whatever the data set has, right? We want to show a map visual, we want to show a card visual which has all those small multiples too. That way we are kind of using this report page to maximize the user experience. So that way user can see whatever the user wants to based on the selections. So you can make selections on the slicer. Based on that selection, these values keep changing. Nothing fancy about it, but I think this way we have all those 4 things in a single visual. So now that we have done this, like for example, if you make all those selections, right? So again, we are doing this particular, we are using this data set is because this is a real world data set. So that way, when we are starting our journey in Power BI, we could really use a real world data set. That way we have some experience in creating those measures and report pages. Now that we have the calendar table, and we have, as you can see, we have every other year, we have the major elections from 2012, and also there are certain years there are some special elections and all, so those are election dates too. So we want to create a new measure, and let us like I said, the major elections are every 2 years, so let us try to use a new measure. Let us create a measure which is a previous election year, and we want to calculate the number of distinct polling places, and the filter condition is we are using date add, and we are going back 2 years. It's a very simple measure. Once we have this measure, that way we have previous election year, and let us try to create another measure. Let us try to make sure that this is formatting is correct, and next step is pretty simple. We want to calculate the year over year difference. So all we have to do is we have to subtract the distinct polling places from previous election year, and we want to, if we want, we can go ahead and calculate the year over year percentage too. That way we have 3 different measures, so we can probably use year over year in percentage in our new report page. I went ahead and created another report page which has again 3 visuals. As you can see, up top you have a slicer and you have a simple table measure. In this case I have used state, year and number of distinct places, and also I've added the newly created measure year over year percentage. So that way we have the table here, and also I've used another visual. I've used a cluster column chart, and I've added year and to the x-axis, and for y-axis I've added year over year percentage. And if you want, you can add tooltips too, but in this case I wanted to make it simple and do all those changes, right? Add those data labels and standard, right? Whatever you want to do, data labels and formatting and all. And if you want to add any conditional formatting, you can do. And also in the reference line, you can add all those lines, right? In this case I don't want to add them, but you could go ahead and add those min, max and average and all those lines. But I have used this, and I have converted that visual from the column to a line chart, and that way I have this, and I have used small multiples for the state. So that way, if you're clicking on any kind of types, like in church or college or community, the table visual and also the line visuals are changing. That way it is very clear to the user what are the changes from whatever year they want to look at. It could be from 2012 or 2014 or 2016 up to 2020. And in Power BI, most of you are using Power BI, so if you click on any visual, the other visuals also will change, that those interactions are in place. That is a basic functionality. Like in case if you click any of this state, any of the rows, the other visuals also change. So that is a basic functionality of Power BI. So we can always use another visual. Maybe we can use another slicer, but to make it simple, I've used only two visuals here in addition to the slicer up top, the table visual, and also a line visual. You can use any other visual, but line visual looks good. At least we know the difference, the variance from 2012 to 2020. So I think this looks good. And let us try to create one more page. Maybe we'll use this as the last page. And let us try to use a stacked bar chart. So instead of 100% stacked bar chart, let us try to use the bar chart. And I want to show a few things more compared to the previous visual. So because we have seen change from 2012 to 2020, so I want to use this visual and show the data in a different fashion. So let us try to start adding the data. Let us try to add x-axis. For the y-axis, let us add the state, and to the x-axis, let us try to add the total distinct measure, what we have created, that count. Once we have that x-axis, and to make it a bit colorful, let us try to add some value to the legend. So let me just try to drag maybe the type onto the legend. The type is there, and this looks good, right? This is a stacked bar chart, so that way you have all those different colors for different types. So we can add tooltips too. So once you hover over any kind of bar, you have those tooltips, which includes the year over year percentage change. That, like I said, we have all those types up there. And I went ahead and added the data labels and as such. So you can just go ahead and make changes. You can untoggle the title, or you can just keep it like that. Then just go ahead and see whatever you want to. I mean, again, we want to make sure the user has access to a slicer up top. And once user makes any selections, we want to make sure that the maximum data, it should not be cluttered. Again, the visual should not be cluttered, but it should give enough information to the user. And since we are using every 2 years, so let me go ahead and add a filter to the slicer. Let us drag the year to the slicer area, and let us try to check only the 2012, 2014, 2016, and 2020. This is one way to filter the visual. So visual level filter, we add that. We have those things available for us. We have only those 5 years available. So that is what we wanted. And click on any kind of year, we have that visual changing. So I think in a way, it's a good idea to start using new datasets as a standard in any kind of tool. Whenever we are learning, there'll be a specific dataset which we kind of learn all the tricks of the tool. But now and then we have to go out and try to use real world dataset. And once we have that dataset, understand the data, and once we have that, we can just in a short time, less than 25 minutes, we could create a report page which gives a lot of information to the user, and we are trying to get insights from the dataset. So I think this is the first step, and we will try to use real world datasets maybe in future and create more report pages. And like I said, we have used tooltip pages, and when you're trying to publish into the service, you don't have to, you can hide those tooltip pages. So I think we have achieved what we have wanted to. We have created 4 report pages which give different details to the user. And thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.